Hello everybody, it's your boy Milk and Honey with an all new top 10 Commandments. I went in thinking of what I was gonna say just then and I lost it. I actually didn't have a game plan for that one. But topic of the day: if biblical laws were laws of the land. I should just be able to say that would be fucking terrible and it would benefit nobody, not even the Christians, and that should be the end of this video. But I can't, because believers will still say I'm insane, or they might be like, well, so I understand, like, some of the laws are a little, I don't understand it, God has his ways, or whatever excuse they fucking have for, oh, that was for the old people. So, just looking at the 10 Commandments alone, I mean, we've got, obviously, whenever I bring up that the 10 Commandments are nothing great, they're like, oh, you would be fine with murder and thievery and coveting. Well, I've got no problem with coveting. I mean, coveting is just, that's the 10th commandment, is just wanting something. Like, desire, like your neighbor gets a brand new car, brand new fucking Corvette or whatever, and you're like, damn, I want to get one of those. And so you go and get one. The wanting that car is the coveting. And that law also puts women in the same boat as other property and slaves. It says don't covet your neighbor's goods, property, house, cattle, slaves, or wife. I mean, the Bible has been known to be misogynistic anyways. But, we can go back from that, there's honor, or, I don't know these in order, forgive me. But, it also depends where you're looking. There's Exodus 20, 10 Commandments, and then there's Exodus, 29 or 30 or something, and there's, 12 or 9. There's either, more than 10 or less than 10, but it's still considered the Commandments. There's also one that's really weird. There's, a version of the 10 Commandments somewhere where, actually, I don't think that's necessarily the commandment. It's definitely a commandment by God, but, it, mentions, burning kids' blood or your firstborn's blood. I mean, the Old Testament is very fucking brutal. It is 100% hardcore. But honoring their mother and father, I mean, just honoring somebody just because somebody said to honor somebody, I think honor is earned, not just, it should just not, it shouldn't just be, automatic or just owed. But what if your parents are pieces of shit? What if your parents are serial killers? Which I know is going on a limb, because how many parents are serial killers? There's some. But there's lots of ways that a parent could be dishonored, in my opinion. Whether it be a lack of love and care and attention, or whether it's child abuse, obviously, parenting isn't perfect, and I don't think it'll ever be, not just for humans either, but that's a meh verse. I can't really get down with it, but I'm not fully against somebody if they want to honor their mother and father, go for it. I mean, I guess in some ways I honor my mother and my father, but I also honor other family members. I also dishonor specific family members. And a few I even disrespect. I don't respect them whatsoever. But let's move on. I don't have the 10 Commandments listed. I keep looking at my damn paper. I don't know why I'm expecting it to be there. But let's go with murder and thievery. Actually, it says, thou shalt not kill, and I get a lot of apologists say, well, it actually means don't murder. It's okay if it's justified, but if it's not justified, it's not okay. Which is how they can also explain away why all the genocide and killing of other people and things like that, as, God's chosen people were pillaging through and through, was okay. It was okay that they all died because it was justified in God's eyes. Oh, the flood, all the pregnant women, children, innocent lives. No, none of them were innocent, not even the fucking children. You know, you can be innocent and in a stomach nowadays, but during the flood, you were a fucking rascal. Which is why everybody deserved to be, like, flooded, drowned to death. But my grandmother actually gets stuck with this. Well, she did in the past. I don't talk with her anymore. But she said that all the kids at the time of Noah's Ark were actually evil. So I said, how is it just to do that? I thought kids were innocent. And she's like, well, some kids are evil. And I was like, okay, so all of them were evil at that time. She was like, I guess so. It'd have to be. It'd have to be. God will always be fucking shielded up. No matter what. God could come down and rape somebody. Which I've asked a specific family member. If God came down in human form and started raping another family member that I mentioned, would you do anything to stop it if you could? They were frozen. They couldn't say anything. And they were squirming in their seat uncomfortable. And they asked me what I wanted them to say. And I said, I don't necessarily want you to say anything other than your honest answer. But I'll tell you that if it were me, I'd stand the fuck up and try to cut it out. I'd be like, I wouldn't even have the time to scream, you can't fucking do that. I would do whatever I could possible to stop God from raping a family member. And so I re-asked them. And they said, I will not answer. God will always be defended, even when we know it's fucking immoral. Because if a human did just a fifth, or a tenth of the things that God did, oh, they'd be worse than Hitler. You know, God's chosen people, right at the beginning of Numbers 11. You can go read this for yourself. I think it's the people of Israel. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but they complained about certain it wasn't issues, but it's basically like the way how it was to live at the time, living conditions. They complained about it, and so you can guess what God did. He helped them out and kind of like said, hey, here's what I can do for you. You're complaining about this, I'll give you this. You're hungry, I got some rolls for you. So either A, helped them, B, ignored them, or C, burned them alive. If you guessed B, you're wrong. It was actually C. He burned them alive until Moses got down on his knees and begged for God to stop. At which that point, you can defend it because it's like, well, God didn't kill them. He stopped the burning after Noah begged him to stop. Ugh. The loopholes and hula hoops and dog competition obstacles these bitches gotta go through to defend this shit. Phenomenal. Ugh, see, this shit gets me heated. When they know they are setting God on a higher standard, and they will even admit it. They'll say, well, God is above all, blah, 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 blah. I've done this to acquaintances and people who have brought up these things with me. I've done this trick to them. You know, they'll start talking shit about Muslims or Islam or another religion, and I'll say, you know, isn't it fucked up that, like, Allah got mad at, like, a certain group of people and said, cut off their heads and hang them up in the sun so that it'll appease my anger against you. Or I'll bring up that Muhammad said that you must hate your family, your mother, father, son or daughter, you know, etc., and yourself, and love me. They'll go on a little bit about how it's messed up and how fucked up it is, and that's terrible, and that's why Islam is evil, this and that. God, I wish I could record the reactions I get from that. It is utter shock, and then after the utter shock happens, they say either, no it doesn't, that's not in the Bible, or they'll say, where? And they always say, where? And I say, if I show you, will you still say that that is messed up, or are you just going to make an excuse? Because there's no point in me showing you if you're just going to make an excuse. And they'll either just say, well, just show me. Or some form of like, what is it? They'll repeat like, where is it? Or they'll say, well, we got to see the context. And the thing is that I don't bring up bad verses out of context. There are tons of verses that I could bring up out of context and be like, this is so fucked up, this and that. But I don't bring those up. I bring up the ones that are fucked up in context. People complain and God's like, burn alive. Where's the context? Laws for owning slaves? Where's the fucking context? But back to the topic of the video, if biblical laws were real laws, imagine being able to own a slave and beat them as long as they don't die within a few days because they're your property. Forget the beating, just owning somebody as property. If biblical law were a law of the land, you'd be able to own slaves still. And a lot of people loophole and backflip out of this one by saying, well, you know, you're a property of your company, of your job. Comparing slavery to working at a goddamn Burger King. Ugh. Like, not even like, that's like, it's like saying like, well, in the military, you're property of blah, 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 or whatever, and this and that. Well, you have rights. I mean, you sign some contracts, but you have rights. Comparing anything to slavery other than slavery or some type of human trafficking is appalling to me. And I can't stand it. 10 Commandments. The first 3 are about fucking loving God, honoring Him, and just stroking off His ego. Imagine, nowadays, if you're not worshiping God, you get the capital punishment. You get the electric chair. You die. And I know I don't think it necessarily says that in the 10 Commandments, but it does say in other places that, you know, those who don't worship God, you know, you kill them. I mean, there's times when God said, go over to these people for worshiping strange gods, this and that, or whatever, and murder them, burn them, and then take the virgins for yourself. Another endorsing rape thing. Oh, that leads me. Rape! Huh! Rape. Rape. God damn, I hate bringing this one up. There are different laws on rape. There's some where if you get raped, you know, there's a fine you gotta pay, and there's some things where it's like, I mean, it's not perfect, it's not great or anything, but it's not fully immoral all the way. It's just like, that's kind of a weird law about rape. But there's another one. Because there's a couple of them. There's one, like, if you're raped within the city or outside the city, and if you screamed loud enough for anybody to hear. It's weird. I mean, this shit's stupid. This shit's like 1,500 years old. These are people of a whole different time. You think it's hard explaining something to, like, your 90-year-old great-grandmother? I mean, who, they're left in a whole different time. Imagine the people who wrote this shit. But if you're raped, and I think it's like outside the city or inside the city, it's one of them. It's one of them. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't look it up. I don't have my phone. I'm using my phone to record right now. But if you're raped, the rapist pays the woman, and it assumes that it's men raping women. Not that it could happen on the other way around. But if a man rapes a woman, or a damsel, as it says in some translations, the man just pays the father of the person he raped 50 shekels, and then she is to marry him. She cannot divorce him all her days. Imagine the law of the land. You had just gotten to a party and somebody had slipped something, a whole date rape situation, and you get raped, and next thing you know, you gotta marry the motherfucker, and your dad gets a check out of it. Fucking biblical morality, my ass. Just the excuses you get for this, and you'll probably find a couple in the fucking comments section to laugh about. I mean, you laugh, and then you just get this sad feeling. You're like, oh, puts a bad taste in your mouth. There's another commandment I can't think of. So there's those. I don't know. Just imagine not worshiping God. Oh, the Sabbath. Let's talk about the Sabbath. Nobody would be working on the Sabbath. Nobody. That means first responders. If you need somebody at the hospital, like it's not happening. It's not happening. You cannot work on the Sabbath. No. And, you know, God said you honor the Sabbath. It is a commandment. And for someone to be like, oh, well, you could at least, like, help like this, or you could do this, or this, or this, or this, or this. You're wrong. Because in Numbers, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It's either Deuteronomy or Numbers. Deuteronomy or Numbers. There's a man who was outside of a camp. And I think Aaron and Moses, or somebody in this tribe, they catch a man gathering, just picking up sticks, probably to make fire so that he can stay warm at night, or make some food. Just normal things in the day. So he's gathering sticks. He's working. And so they're like, huh, this man is working on the Sabbath. And so they're like, well, we need to get him, and we need to figure out what to do with him. So they lock him up, and they ask God, and they're like, God, please, I'm trying to do, like, I don't have one hand. I'm trying to do the praying thing. But God, what do we do with this man? You know, blah, blah, blah. And God just says, kill him. And they just murder him. Imagine you get caught working on, imagine you get caught, like, gathering things from your garden to make a fresh salsa on a Saturday, and your neighbor turns you in and you get executed the next fucking Friday. This is what it'd be like if biblical laws were the laws of the land. What would a normal? Well, I'm trying to think. What would a normal Christian think? Like if I was like if I asked a Christian, or if you're a Christian, riddle me this. And I really would have loved to ask this before even making the video and bringing up these topics, or these specific laws. If we today, because a lot of people talk about how, you know, America needs to go back to its roots, America needs to be based on the Bible and God and this and that. What would America look like if we had the same laws and morality from the Bible? Like, what things would come to their mind first? Would it be, well, we'd love one another, and we'd actually honor God and our parents, and yada, 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 you know? I don't know. I'm really curious. You know, there's bound to be some good law in there. I just don't know or remember them. But, you know, but another thing, Jesus fucking points out, and this isn't a law, but if somebody marries a woman who's already had kids, or a husband, someone who's divorced, right? So if I marry somebody who's divorced, number one, according to the Bible, a woman who's divorced is an adulterer. And so the man who I could be with this woman, and she'd be the first woman I had ever been with. It would make me automatically an adulterer, which is another one of the commandments is, you know, do not commit adultery. You know, I think, oh, well, that's not too bad. You know, you're just labeled an adulterer, but you're just a good stepdad. You know, Jesus fucking hates stepdads. Way to go. But if you take into consideration that adultery is a sin, and if you take seriously what God says in His Word, that all sins are equal, stepfather being an adulterer is basically equal to the child rapist who's now gonna marry the person he raped. Also equal to a murderer and to Hitler, since all sins are equal. How do normal Christians, like your lukewarm Christians, what I don't get what goes on in their mind when they found this. And I always want to think, well, what would I think when I was a Christian? But the thing is as soon as I found out that all these terrible fucking things were in Scripture, I was like, oh my God. I could not make an excuse for it, and it baffles me that people do. And I get it, you know, you've got to, no matter what, you've got to defend it. You cannot let any shots hit it. You're taking all of them. You're doing all kinds of immoral backflips with your thinking to do it. I don't get it. But, you know, this is just what I've been thinking about. If biblical laws were laws of the land, that'd be so fucked. That'd be so fucked. Man. And not just that, if you're like a witch or a homosexual, the police just pick you up and they just murder your ass. And like I'll ask Christians, I'll be like, are you fine? Would you be fine with that? You know, they'll bring up that, like, you know, oh, this gay agenda and all these gay people, you know, we should be following what the Bible says. And I'm like, all right, so should we kill them? And they're like, well, I don't think that. And it's like, well, then you're disagreeing with your God, because God says that they should be killed. And then I always hear it. Where does it say that? Where does it say that? Where does it say that? Where does it say it? God damn. Read the fucking book, please. It's not hard, but it is when you're reading it all the time and going to church and constantly hearing scripture, but it's just going in one ear, through your mental processes, and then out the other ear. Not to say that they're not thinking about it, but they don't think too deeply. They don't think for themselves a lot. You know, when the underground assumption is God is good, God is great, there's nothing bad, blah, 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 you cannot question. There's a lot of Christians who do question God, and there's some who are like, you don't do it. All these things are going to go in one ear and out the other. They're not going to think, oh, well, that's bad. You know, they're not going to read the story of Elijah, the bald prophet, and the kids, like, made fun of him, and they called him, like, go up with that bald head. And I get that people say, well, this was actually very offensive. They basically said, fuck off, Baldy, or something like that. And then Elijah curses them in the name of the Lord, and then 2 bears come out of the woods and maul the children to death. 42 of them. And it's like, the Christians that defend this shit are usually the same Christians that can't stand the left and cancel culture and blah blah blah. Even though we know, well, we'll do a video about it sometime, hopefully, about Christians and their own cancel culture, whether it's Harry Potter, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, fucking Dungeons and Dragons, XYZ, whatnot, P&G. There's so many things. Yeah, Disney. Oh my God, we're gonna boycott Disney. But you know, if God gets that offended, because they talk about, oh, the SJW left Democrat is triggered, and yeah, I get it, they are, but who fucking cares? You know, they have a big thing about being like, they're so like, oh, everyone's so offended nowadays, like, you just can't say anything, like, I can't say the N-word at work anymore when I stub my toe, and just, people are really offended. But then, like, they worship a God that gets so offended. If you're a man and you think a boy is pretty cute, God is so offended he wants you killed. You know, he's offended by all of us. You know, we're all sinful. We're born with sin. And he cannot tolerate sin. Cannot tolerate the sin. But that's pretty much it. I've got so much to go on and on about it, but I gotta get on with my day. Either way, it was nice. It's nice doing this little video. I hope that the Android videos are good enough. I hope they're not like hard to watch, or like, you know, you don't hear the AC in the background, or like the hum of my car, and it's like, this is shitty. This is taking a dip for the shit dip. But either way, I had fun. Or I'm having fun. I am having fun. Either way, I'll see you guys next time. Next video might not be about religion, might not be about atheism or woo-woo or anything. I might just get on here and tell you about my day, you know. I hope that's okay. Of course it's okay. I can do whatever the fuck I want. But I'm gonna have to take it easy for now, and you do the same.